We look at people who are better than us and define ourselves subconsciously as being lesser. We battle those with higher skill and we simply feel powerless. We go up against massive challenge and we feel limited by our skill level. But the mistake here isn't going up against challenge, it's in letting these experiences define you and letting yourself believe that you can only accomplish so much. But what if I told you that you could accomplish much more? That you could explode past what you thought you were capable of? What if you suddenly realized that you had the potential to achieve a massive jump in the ranks, to make money from your skills, or even to go pro? And this isn't some false dream, this isn't based on some exploits of the current meta. What I'm talking about is real growth, perhaps exponential growth, achieving massive improvements in your skill level, and doing so through the process of flow. So, what is flow? Flow is a psychological term introduced by Hungarian psychology professor Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He used the term to describe the phenomenon that artists and high-performance athletes feel when they get lost in their art or sport. This is a state of hyper-focus where their sense of time and self completely disappears, resulting in accelerated performance and creative genius. And the chances are that you've experienced this many times, at least on some level. I'm sure you've gotten so lost in a game that hours have gone by without you realizing. Next thing you know, your stomach is growling, forcing you to realize that you've completely forgotten to eat dinner, and now when you look at the time, it's 3 in the morning. And what's so exceptionally interesting about flow is not only its ability to help you get lost in an activity and heighten your performance, but it also creates a state of hyper-learning, where you can develop your skills extremely fast. Some of the first research of this came from DARPA, an agency that's responsible for researching and developing new technologies for the military. DARPA researchers induced flow in military snipers. They found that the target acquisition skills of these snipers improved by 230%. In a similar but non-military study, researchers at Advanced Brain Monitoring in Carlsbad, California, found that artificially induced flow states cut the time it took to train novice snipers up to an expert level by 50%. Now imagine utilizing this in your competitive gaming. Imagine being able to perform exceptionally well whenever you need to, and developing a professional level of skill in a fraction of the time. So, how can you do this? How can you achieve flow? And this has been a mystery for a long time. We used to just stumble upon these states of flow as an athlete who could get into the zone or an artist who found their muse. But thanks to recent research, this is no longer a mystery. We are now able to engineer our experiences in order to achieve flow on a daily basis. What researchers have discovered is that flow is a process. It's something that requires certain triggers in order to occur. Where flow states are most prevalent is in action and adventure sports. The reason for this is because in these extreme environments, there are built-in triggers for flow. Most importantly, there is a mix of high skill and high challenge with very high consequence. They are basically achieving flow by entering life-threatening situations.
These sports are demanding more and more and more attention because any error could be fatal. This is obviously driving focus and driving flow.
You can train yourself, like the Buddhists spend their whole lives training themselves to get to the flow state. You can jump on the mega ramp and find it in 2 minutes.
It's hard to force, but sometimes as an athlete, if you're not in that state, it can be a matter of life and death.
For those of us who don't want to risk our lives to get better at gaming, we can replicate these flow triggers in our current environment. The research of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi uncovered 3 triggers that are necessary to induce flow. One must be involved in an activity with a clear goal and clear progress. The activity must have clear and immediate feedback. And there must be a balance of skill to challenge with a slight increase in perceived challenge. Now, the first 2 triggers are already there for video games, hence why you probably achieve some level of flow almost every time you play a game. But our goal isn't to flip on the flow switch, it's to raise the flow slider to max volume. And in order to do this, we really need to put emphasis on the 3rd trigger. Because what really triggers flow is the presence of challenge, especially as it relates to your skill. With too low of challenge and too high of skill, we become bored. With too high of challenge and too low of skill, we end up experiencing anxiety and fear. The sweet spot is somewhere in the middle. And according to Csikszentmihalyi, flow is truly triggered when there is slightly higher challenge in relation to our skill. It needs to be around 4% higher than your perceived skill, just enough extra challenge that we become extra engaged. And this often means that we are likely to fail a few times, but then when we succeed, it will be amazingly rewarding. So when these triggers exist, you'll experience flow in a 3-step process. The first step is known as struggle. It's fairly unpleasant. It's that feeling of frustration or even fear. Perhaps it's the pre-game jitters or the frustration of messing up a few times. The second stage is release, where you let go of everything, when you let the challenge just take you over and move into it with a sense of calm. And that triggers the 3rd step, which is flow itself, a combination of high stress and calming focus that causes your brain to release a cocktail of neurochemicals. And the result is performance at your maximum skill level and the ability to learn insanely fast. And the true beauty of reaching maximum performance while achieving a state of rapid learning is in its ability to create near exponential growth, extending what we ever thought was even possible. And this we have already seen in action-adventure sports.
Nothing like this has ever happened before. Sports performance is slow, it's steady, it's governed by the laws of evolution. At no point in history does performance quintuple in a decade. But that's exactly what's been happening in action-adventure sport.
I never thought at the start of my riding career I was going to jump on and off a 10-story building, but ultimately you get to these points where you're ready to go and do something that you didn't even consider possible. I didn't even know the forces I was going to put on my body jumping up onto a 10-story building and dropping off it. But to go and do that in that flow state, it seems quite easy.
When extreme athletes get addicted to progress and push into higher and higher challenge, they achieve exponential growth. They defy the odds. They do the impossible. But let's look at what exponential growth really looks like and what you could achieve by utilizing the flow state. So according to Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, one must achieve a balance of skill to challenge, but where challenge is slightly higher than skill. The magical number he uses for this is by 4%. There must be 4% more challenge than skill. So let's say for 100 days, you push your skill level by 4%. You achieve flow every day, and by the end of that day, you've achieved a 4% improvement in your skill. So of course, the next day you must do the same. Push yourself by 4% and achieve a 4% improvement. And as the cycle continues, by day 25, you will have increased your baseline skill significantly. Using a made-up skill metric, you will have improved it from, say, 100 skill points to 256. But by day 50, you will have improved it to 683. By day 75, it will have jumped to 1,821. And by day 100, it'll improve to 4,886. 156. This is the power of exponential growth. By entering a state of flow, by pushing yourself with sufficient challenge every day, you can attain near exponential growth, quickly achieving a level of skill you never thought you could. So next time you're practicing, set a higher goal. Give yourself a higher challenge. Push yourself to that sweet spot of flow. You'll feel the fear of difficulty. You'll feel the frustration. And at the height of it, instead of letting it take you over, you'll relax. You'll breathe slower. You'll let your mind calm and let the wave of flow take you over. Achieving a state of flow is not to be taken lightly. If you challenge yourself, if you learn to put yourself into flow, and you improve by 4% each day, you will achieve near exponential growth. You will improve faster and faster. You will transcend yourself and achieve levels you previously thought were impossible. Hey there, eAthletes. I hope you loved this video, and if you walk away with it with just one thing, then just remember, you are capable of achieving massive progress that continues to build and build upon itself. But the key to this is getting into a state where you can effectively develop your skills, and doing so day after day. Now, achieving a perfect flow state is insanely hard, and it's something that I'm trying to master every single day, but I'd love to hear from you guys. What's your experience with flow? Have you ever achieved a perfect state of flow where you just lost track of time and seemed to perform insanely well? If so, then tell us about it. Leave a comment down below. And on that note, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.